steep pitch. I know, like,
Yeah.
when I was going home last night after the storm, going up past Park and Ride, the water was just ripping down that steep ditch on the side of 2A.
Yeah.
All right, 6:30. Let's get started. We can start our day. So welcome in another Friday Safety Focus of the Week. Today is July 29th. This week's code of conduct is to strive for restraint, discretion, and integrity. One of our favorite code items. I think it is one of yours too, Ben. So you want to share some thoughts?
Yes, I often find myself saying something and then thinking afterwards, boy, that wasn't quite what I should have said. It didn't come out right. So
that happens to you too?
It happens all the time. But it's like this one, just I like the word strive in the beginning because here at ECI we understand that things happen and we say things and there's always opportunity. But when you strive for restraint, you just give yourself that extra couple of seconds to think about something. And 50% of the time when our gut says we should think about it, we change what we say. We gives us a minute to think about what the right thing to do is. And we get to decide before it automatically comes out. And I think that's helpful for us. And it's all about self-discipline for me, because this is one that's about us. It's about how we can really affect situations and other people and get things going in a more positive, solution-based way, which is what we're all about.
Yep. Well said.
Yeah, and I think when it doesn't come out right, it's always okay to say, "Whoa, let me restate that in a different way that maybe gives the meaning I intended to give."
Yeah. It's good to acknowledge that with the others that you're with too. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Another 7 days without a recordable injury. So nice job over the last week. Let's end the week strong here today. We got a lot of work going on, a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of potential risks and hazards. So let's start off the day with a good briefing after the safety meeting, communicate the expectations and identify those hazards, and let's try to mitigate our risk as much as possible. Contact health and safety if there's any questions or concerns or additional needs that your project might need, and we're here to help. So this week we wanted to highlight loader safety, and we got Hunter Tabor with us this morning, and Hunter put together a really nice PowerPoint presentation, so he's going to share that with us here this morning.
Yep. So for those who don't know me, my name is Hunter Tabor, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about loader safety. Main things I'm going to talk about are why loader safety is often overlooked. I'm also going to talk about the hazards you encounter, and then a few ways to prevent accidents within it. Do you have the PowerPoint?
Yep, we've got it up. We can see it.
See it.
The often overlooked bullets are here.
Do you see that, Hunter?
I don't.
So one of your first bullet points we had here is trying to complete multiple tasks in a short amount of time.
Yep, I can see it now. So yeah, these are all different reasons why it'd be overlooked. So for trying to complete multiple tasks in a short amount of time, obviously there's a lot of things you're trying to do throughout the day and trying to get a lot done, and that can cause a lot of ruckus and can make things difficult at times. But another reason is they're usually operated on semi-flat ground. So for example, like you're usually in a nice loading area, unloading area. So it's usually a pretty flat area, and you don't really think about safety hazards and things that could go wrong. Becoming too comfortable. So you just get really used to the equipment and you don't really think like anything can happen to you or things like that. You don't really take the time to think about safety sometimes, even though you really should. And lastly, it's a commonly used piece of equipment. So again, that kind of just makes you think like, oh, that it can't really happen to me, or a lot of people use them on a day-to-day, so you don't really think they're that dangerous or things like that. None of these are excuses of why you shouldn't be or why you should be overlooking safety, but this is definitely usually the reasons why people do overlook it.
Mhm.
Next slide.
Little bit of-
So I can't see that one either, but I'll just pull it up. So some hazards that you encounter while running a loader are instability while the bucket is raised. This gives you a higher center of gravity and can make it easier for the machine to roll over or other things. Some other things you run into are uneven terrain, obstacles, jerky movements, and sharp turns. And as I had said before, all these increase the chance of a rollover or an accident. Next slide. And with accident prevention, usually in a loader, you're doing two main things. You're either traveling or you're going to be unloading or loading. So some accident prevention tips for traveling are to turn the machine at a low speed. Carry the load as low as possible to the ground, especially on like a steeper slope or incline. You want to keep that load as low as possible to the ground. As I had mentioned before, the higher center of gravity you get when you pick the bucket up is not very good on steeper slopes. You do not want to turn the loader with a load raised above it. This is, like I had said, it gives you a higher center of gravity and can make it harder to control. You want to keep the loaded bucket facing uphill. Be alert for uneven ground and keep away from edges of banks and slopes when possible. Obviously you're not going to be able to do that all the time. There's going to be times where you're working on a slope or near a steep bank and you don't really have a choice, but when you can avoid it, you should avoid it. And next slide. And lastly would be things you can do to prevent accidents while loading and unloading. You want to raise and lower the bucket slowly and steadily. This kind of helps with the jerky movements that I was talking about earlier. When you're doing jerky movements and stuff, things can happen fast and you don't really have control over the machine, full control. You want to drive in a straight line when loading, so you don't want to try and turn and load at the same time. You want to keep the load balanced, so when you're actually picking up a load of material with the bucket, you want to make sure that it's loaded evenly throughout the bucket on both sides. This will help prevent rollovers as well. You do not want to overload, and you want to keep people away from the loading and unloading area. This can be hard too. Obviously, that's not going to happen all the time either with truck drivers or other people, but when you can avoid it, you should, because as you all know, it's hard to see everywhere out of the equipment at all times. So keeping people away from there would help mitigate risk. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So Hunter, the thing about the jerky movements and the quick movements with that big load way up there, it made me think about like the momentum that you have with that big mass of weight in the bucket.
Right.
And that momentum when you move quickly, it's just something that you don't think about a lot until you've done it.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
It's hard to stop something that's big and heavy and it's already moving, or you've propelled it in a different direction than you want.
Right.
So
Definitely.
I got a little Kubota tractor, and my wife always wants to use it for things. And that's the one thing that I feel like an old school person yelling at my wife. It's the only time I can really yell at her, but telling her to keep that bucket down close to the ground when she's got a load.
Right.
I said it 20 times until that one day it got a little tippy, and then she didn't want to run it anymore. And I said, you didn't have the bucket down close to the ground.
Right.
And it's scary. So sometimes all we do is we can preach these things and say them, but until we all start getting the experience in the machines, and then knowing these things will help us to keep us safe, because it sucks to learn the old way, but we all probably have.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things I want to add. One is hopefully, achieving eye contact with the people on the ground, and the people on the ground achieving eye contact with the operator. I've been really surprised, and I talked to Matt Orzelak about it once. not too long ago about other contractors seem to like now these shaded windows on their equipment. I really disagree with that, and I'm surprised at it. That's just one side comment. And the other thing that I want to just state about, as an operator for loader especially, it's best to follow the same pattern on every trip you do, so that at least the people on the ground know, hey, I'm safe walking over here, because loader guy, he keeps going around on his path that he's established. And changing that can mess things up, obviously, but consistency where you can be, where it's clear that you are being consistent, is helpful, I think, for the people on the ground. So thank you, Tabor. That was excellent. I'd like to see our employees kind of participate in these presentations. I think it's great for the person and great for the company, and really sends great messages throughout. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'll take over, Matt.
Screen is yours. Thanks, Hunter.
Okay. Window. Hey, can you see my screen?
We got it.
Okay. I don't have any announcements today, but we do have a few other things. Minimize that, guys. So, okay. Still have the primary care wellness program link here for weather outlook. Let me explain real quick why I do the weather outlook now, because there were a few times before I did this that there's a hurricane coming on Sunday night or something, and I didn't even mention it. So this helps me. If there was some extreme conditions showing up, we could say, hey, be careful out there. And it looks like last night was kind of the extreme event, with a couple inches of rain in a very short period. But going forward for a little bit, it looks pretty good. And for projects this week, we're talking about the Burlington Telecom 2022 FTTH build out in Chittenden County. So an FTTH is a fiber to the home build out. So all residential fiber. So pretty cool stuff. Some high speed internet coming to different neighborhoods around Chittenden County through Burlington Telecom. So we're contracted by Burlington Telecom for their 2022 plant expansion projects. There's several of them. And the work primarily consists of fiber to the house build out. So we got one in Essex North, they call it, in the vicinity of Five Corners. That was 5C, and then Essex North is around Pinecrest Drive in the town of Essex. Remember, the town versus the city. Now got a new town/city in the state of Vermont. Essex South, which is in the village area, which is also the city again. And then Dorset Street North, which is starts after San Remo Drive in South Burlington, continues out to O'Brien Farms development, the newer development there. The work requires close coordination with Eustis Cable. They are doing the aerial contract work. And the ECI scope work continues to increase because they keep finding new places to go.
Oh, it's already down there? Yeah.
So
I took it.
Somebody saying something? So anyway, the ECI scope work includes approximately 13,500 feet of conduit, 33 tier 22, which are underground boxes, and 42,000 feet of fiber to be installed. And the telecom currently serves a customer base of approximately 10,000 people, and it sounds like they're really trying to ramp that up. So, next slide, there we go. So you see the guys out here doing a couple shots, a piece of conduit coming out of the ground in front of the rig where they're doing a splice joint there, or there will be when they have to stitch everything together. A lot of it was horizontal directional drilled where it makes sense. Otherwise, it would be some trenching. This is in Essex. Nice street to work on. Great soil conditions to be working in for sure. for drilling in and for digging in, doing some potholing here. Just nice stuff to work with. Traffic's not too bad, nice neighborhoods. And here they are pulling in some product, some of the conduit. There's a swivel down there. It's a little hard to see, a swivel and shackle, pulling it back, starting to pull it back. And another view of one of the neighborhoods. Of course, there's gas in there and there's power, because all this and telephone are existing lines for TV, cable TV, and everything else, and they're all underground, which complicates it. But nonetheless, it's not a bad, at least the Essex neighborhood wasn't a bad place for doing all this. And it looks like maybe a little light, street lighting too. And some of the HDD stuff, stormwater and gas there to work around. We've done a lot of the work in Essex. I drove around all the neighborhoods, and wow, there's just it's amazing how much we've done and how quickly it's come together.
Yeah.
So from the photo archives here, this is the level 3 communications in East Greenbush, which is essentially part of in Rensselaer County and right next to Rensselaer. We went into Rensselaer, and that was back in December of 1999. And look at the number of conduit they're stuffing in the ground. Like, holy cow. Back then they wanted more. Of course, this is more of a, a transmission line, and they just wanted more is better. I'll bet that 3/4 of those conduits are probably still vacant. So that's what I got. If anyone else have anything out there, and have a good, safe day and safe weekend, I'll turn it back to you, Matt.
Yeah, good attendance. Thanks for everybody for joining us this morning. If you're watching a group setting, please send over a message with people that you watched it with, so we can put it on our attendance report for the week.
And thanks
Let's
again,
be-
Hunter.
Yeah, thanks, Hunter.
Thanks, Hunter.
Let's be safe today. Let's have a great day.
Take care out there.